Welcome everyone to Ring the Bell. This is Diaz.
And the Sriracha Muchacha, Paloma Star.
And we are here for another emergency news and rumor episode. This is third time we're doing this.
We need to stop meeting like this. Like, I love doing random episodes, but like, I hate that we have to do it because of the so many releases.
I honestly did not expect the first video of Pride Month, or the first video of 50k subscribers to be f***ing release video. But anyway, WWE today released another 3 women from their roster, and this was a shocking list. So we lost Ruby Riott, Lana, and Santana Garrett. Let's start from Ruby Riott. So Fightful Select reported that Ruby Riott's release was the one that shook WWE roster the most, as she was universally loved backstage, and she was always loved for her hard work backstage. Liv Morgan reacting to this release: whoever is lucky enough to get Heidi Lovelace on their roster, you win.
This one was definitely by far the most surprising one. I'm like, wait, what? It doesn't make any sense. Like, it came out of nowhere. And it was so funny because literally today, the first thing that I saw when I opened Instagram was a new gear design for Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cute. And then now all of a sudden she's released. Like, she's been good consistently. She always shows up. She works hard, and you could tell by the quality of her matches. And she's been used on TV recently. Santana Garrett, who kind of like, oh, you could kind of, see the writing on the wall. But this one definitely was a surprise. Like, I don't necessarily see an actual reasoning. Like, it's obviously not because of her performance whatsoever. So it'd be interesting to see if they even say a reason why they released all these people.
So she recently had a tag match with the tag team champions Natalya and Tamina. I mean, they were never really in a tag team storyline, unfortunately, but they were always there, and they're honestly one of the few tag teams that worked. They were legitimate. They were there as a team for a long time, so it was kind of shocking for Ruby Riott to be released. To talk a little bit about her career, she made her NXT debut in 2016, attacking Nikki Cross. And then in 2017 November, she debuted on SmackDown with Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. As we all know, the Riott Squad has lost Sarah Logan as she was released in previous years. I think she had a pretty successful NXT career. She was in women's championship matches. In main roster, she did have a couple women's championship matches, but it was never kind of a serious storyline, or she was never a serious contender.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I think she's definitely one of the most talented and diverse ones, and her selling is always on point. I always love the way that Ruby Riott sells, for sure. But I never thought that she necessarily got like such a big push as like I feel like she definitely could have flourished in. But quite honestly, she's one of those probably didn't even need the championship to show how good she was. I mean, of course, she would love to see her as champion, and she deserves to be champion, but she's just one of those talents that's just a really good hand that unfortunately makes other people look good. And that's kind of like a gift and a curse to have. Like, it's great because they can always count on you, you're always going to deliver good matches, but also they're going to use you to build up other people, unfortunately. So, and I think that might have been the kind of hand that she was dealt, but I would definitely don't think that we saw the full potential that Ruby Riott could do.
Have you worked with Ruby Riott in the indie scene?
I haven't. I met her at Shimmer once, and she was so nice and very super friendly. She was one of those that actually made a point to come out of her way and introduce herself, especially to all the new girls there. So she was very nice. But I know she was really into gender wrestling too. So I think that's really cool that she did a little bit of everything. But no, hopefully now I get to wrestle her maybe in the near future. You never know.
Based on what I know, she was like very hardcore and like hard hitting in the indie scene. So it doesn't seem like she was able to show even fraction of what she could do in the indie scene. So it would be really interesting to see her outside of WWE. Like Liv Morgan said, whoever picks up Ruby Riott is winning this game. And obviously it still hurts that Riott Squad could not hold that damn women's tag team championship because it was so obvious that they should have been the champion. Let's go to another tag team that broke up because of the release. It is Lana. She was just in a match with Naomi as a team. I mean, this is really shocking to me. Lana was released. Naomi, her tag partner, tweeted out, "I'm always your friend, bestie, sis, no matter what. Hashtag ravishing glow." I mean, very, very heartbreaking. I was most shook about this one because, I mean, since last year, there were some storylines that she was involved with. She was breaking tons of announcer tables. She had that whole situation with Nia and Shayna. I mean, it never really culminated into anything, and I guess it kind of is dead. I thought WWE was trying to give her something with that Chronicle and everything too.
Yeah, I definitely thought she was really high up on at least the WWE side. I know a lot of fans think otherwise, but she definitely was always giving something to do by WWE, like you said with the Chronicle, and like she's always been consistent on a storyline, whether she's wrestling or not. Even as a manager, she's always been consistently used, and quite honestly, I felt like WWE would really like her and want to keep her. I will admit it, she's not like the 5-star wrestler in the ring. She has improved quite a bit, quite honestly. And I even remember when I did extra work, she was wrestling, she was training in the ring, trying to work and get better. So there was some improvement in the ring wise. But also, I think she's such a good, strong character. She's a good on the mic, especially when she was doing the whole Russian thing. She was great on the mic. So I even think she's more versatile as besides just a wrestler. So it definitely tripped me out. I didn't think WWE would want to release her since it seemed like they invested so much in her lately. It was definitely a shock. Watch, she's going to get an invoice of all those tables that she broke alongside her trash bag.
So she's been in the company from 2013. She's been here for a while. So she made her debut in NXT October 23 of 2013 with Rusev, the husband. And then she made her main roster debut on January 31st of 2014 on SmackDown. And she was obviously uber popular. Like, the Lana chant was just so freaking loud. Yeah, she was just one of the most popular characters on WWE TV on her height of her manager era. And then she made her in-ring debut fighting against Bella Twins at WrestleMania 32 pre-show. And then she also went on to have championship match with Naomi on SmackDown. She also had the whole women's championship storyline with Asuka, which kind of went into the whole table Nia Shayna situation. And recently she was in a tag division with Naomi. I feel like she's someone that always had huge potential. A lot of crowd very involved with her. People loved her character. She had explosive charisma. It just never came to fruition.
Totally. And I could totally see her going to AEW for sure. I mean, her husband's already there. I'm sure they could do something together with them. I will say, I don't know if I see her so much as an in-ring personality in AEW, but definitely she could still bring something to the brand with her mic skills and her relationship that she does have, obviously, with her husband. But I do agree that for a while that she was so over. Remember the whole Lana Day chants and like all the different chants they came up with? So she was definitely very popular. And I will admit, I really liked Naomi and Lana together, which at first I thought was kind of random, like, oh great, another tag team they just randomly pieced together. But I was actually really enjoying them. They look great together. Their styles are complement each other. And as weird as it is, I really enjoyed her doing the whole like TikTok thing, because as much as people hate to admit it, that's definitely the way of the world now, especially trying to get crossover to that mainstream. She was doing it right. She always knew what to do to kind of get herself over, because I feel like she knew that her in-ring abilities were quite limited, but her out-of-the-ring abilities definitely by far exceeded what other people might do. So she also always had her finger on the pulse of what's happening. So
she also had a career outside of WWE, so she was in both Pitch Perfect movies, and recently she produced and was a cast of this movie that you can watch on Amazon called Another Version of You. I actually really enjoyed the movie, so I recommend you go watch it. Now, the next one that was released today was Santana Garrett. This was another kind of a head scratcher because she was recently rumored to be on SmackDown roster. So the news was that she was, like what happened with Vanessa Bourne, she was ready to be on a main roster to join SmackDown brand. But just like what happened to Vanessa, there just wasn't storyline ready, and you know, she was released today. So last we've seen from her was honestly like amazing elimination from Royal Rumble, Women's Royal Rumble in January. Outside of that, she had her singles matches here and there, but nothing that amazing. And she had some criticisms over some of the sellings she did over main event or Raw matches. And recently, well actually a couple days ago, she was in hot waters for posting a very political video on her Instagram.
I think this was probably the one that surprised me the least, just because of the amount that she's being used on TV, where like how you said, like we hardly see any one-on-one matches with her. But outside of her, shenanigans that she does sometimes get into hot water about, I think she was actually what WWE looks for in a woman wrestler. Like she definitely has experience. She definitely has done everything in the indies. She's definitely really well traveled. She's wrestled all over the world. She has the look that I feel like WWE so totally loves and looks for. And she seems like she had some charisma and some personality, but there was some like disconnect, I think, that didn't really have her cross over and finally seen her as a mainstay in NXT. Like we'd see her one week and then she would like disappear forever, and then she would like come out in Royal Rumble and then who knows where she went. So I think there was definitely a disconnect there where for all intents and purposes she should have worked out. She should have been super successful, but for some reason she just didn't.
She was such an indie darling. She started wrestling back in like 2009. She wrestled everywhere from Shine to WoW, and she also wrestled in Impact Wrestling. And she joined WWE. She got that contract in 2019, and people were expecting her to be kind of a big name sign. Usually, when they kind of get to the front of the line, it wasn't the case for her. So she tweeted out saying, "Thank you WWE, peace, love, and headband power," is what she said. And she also said #time to shine. So maybe she's returning to shine. I don't know. This is the third round of release after the main roster one, which shocked everyone. Iconic. So you're kidding me? And then we got the NXT cuts, and again we got another round of main roster cut. Aleister Black talked about the reason he got cut, and he said the budget cuts was the reason given for his release. And this is actually causing a lot of speculations right now. A lot of people are saying that is WWE cutting all the talents to look good on paper for a sale of the company? So, and this is kind of a speculation that came out from the earlier deal when they kind of sold the streaming rights to NBC Universal. So these are what people are saying. So Sean Ross is saying that the only way I can rationalize this kind of cut is for eventual sales. Several of these people signed big contracts before the pandemic when WWE were in a talent hoarding, locked them up for years more. And Louis Dangor from Wrestle Talk also said the change in mindset from keeping unhappy wrestlers until the expiration of their contracts, often adding injury time on their deals, to now offloading so much talent means something has changed. And I think it's linked to making books look good or potential sale. Again, there's no any solid reports about sales happening or talks of it happening, but people are saying, this is kind of like a one-on-one for like company sales situation. You make a lot of budget cuts to make on paper, the company looks good. So people are making the speculation. What do you think?
I think it's definitely interesting to note, because I think like this is the most like strong the rumor has been of a sale lately. These releases don't seem like regular releases. Braun Strowman, really, I'm not, quite honestly, not gonna miss him, but it was definitely a surprise. I thought it was like everything WWE looks for and wants, and he was like WWE champion just last year. Like that one really surprised me. So these releases have like a different vibe to me, at least, kind of like something's up here, and I don't really know if it might be a sale, maybe intimate, but I think it's definitely something else might be going on, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see more, quite honestly. Maybe some other of like, I could kind of saw those coming, but it is definitely interesting to note.
This is such a shift from like just a couple years ago. Yeah. Remember when we were talking about WWE and AEW just hoarding everyone so that they can't take each other's talent? We were thinking like there has to be a point where they can't deal with all the talent, or most of the people will be just backstage doing nothing. Maybe WWE thought AEW cannot compete with them, so they decided to just let the talent loose. The sales conversation is very interesting. I don't know how that's gonna go, because it's like this is like Vince McMahon's company, so I'm curious how that's gonna, I don't know how that's gonna look like.
I've never thought WWE would get sold while Vince was around. So I don't know if that means he's getting ready to retire, or he knows something that we don't know, but I never thought it would see the day that there would even be a rumor of WWE being sold if Vince was still around. So I'm just like, like things that make you say, For AEW has a tendency of picking up people who are released and just snatching them up, like, oh yeah, they're all elite. But I feel like they've been doing that a lot lately, to the point where it has to tip over at one time. They has to either stop doing that or they have to start releasing people who they're not really doing anything with. Because I get it, the cons have a stupid amount of money, but there has to be business-wise. There has to be a time where you're like, all right, like we have enough. And then that's the thing with AEW. You have so many good people and so many talented that you don't get to showcase them all. That you don't get to see them, and you see them once again, and then they're disappeared forever. So I'm interested to see if AEW is just gonna keep on just eating it up, picking up everybody's getting released, or at one point you have to be like, okay, our roster is like way more than full. And quite honestly, I think their roster's been full a while ago.
Yeah, that was actually a very great transition, Paloma, because we were going to talk about AEW releases. Because AEW just released 2 women from their roster, Awesome Kong and Shanna. So Awesome Kong, she was one of the big names that AEW acquired earlier in their whole company history. And she just came out of the Glow fame. Obviously, Glow was canceled, which I'm really upset about. Awesome Kong, since joining the company, she was in a lot of the earlier pay-per-views, and then she joined the Nightmare Collective with Brandy Rhodes, which the team was dropped because it was quite honestly pretty terrible. And then she has not wrestled for AEW since January 7th, 2020. And the reason that was given was that she was there to film Glow. And I think it was known that Glow kind of filmed halfway through, but they still canceled. And also the news was that Kong was serving as a coach for the company for a bit, but it is now news that she is released of her contract.
I really wanted to see, I think a lot of people wanted to see Aja Kong versus Awesome Kong, because who wouldn't want to see that? And I think it was definitely like one of those like, oh, what if situation, but also didn't see her being used, quite honestly. And if she's not being used, I'm sure she's like, well, might as well just release me so she could go do something else. So it's unfortunate that she was released, but I could also see why. So I hope that she gets to do bigger and better things, because quite honestly, she wasn't doing those in AEW as much as I would have loved to see her do that.
I really liked her in Glow too, so maybe acting could be in her future.
Yeah.
I would love to see that more of that. Shanna is another one that was released by AEW. She recently wrestled April 12th episode of AEW Dark. We haven't seen much of Shanna in AEW, just period. This was another unfortunate release. There's a correction about our earlier report about Kavita Devi getting released from WWE. So Kavita Devi did an interview to follow up on the news saying that she is actually not released from WWE, but kind of reading the interview, it kind of seems like she is almost like a Kylie Sane situation. So what she said is that I read those reports and they aren't accurate. I have been back at home in India since January. My husband contracted COVID earlier this year and I needed to be here with my family. And I have also had ACL injury for over a year and have been unable to perform in the ring, but WWE still supported me through all of that. It did seem like she was sidelined because of her own injury and the family's health situation, but when asked about will you be back in WWE in the future, she said, in the future that may mean I am involved in the talent scouting or live events, anything is possible. There are incredible Indian talents in WWE and I'll continue to champion them here at home. That answer almost, again this is a speculation area, but that answer doesn't seem like she will be returning to the ring anytime soon.
That's interesting. I'm glad she did that interview to kind of like shed a little bit more of light into it, and I hope she does get brought back in some sort of way. It'd be awesome to have more representation, not only of women but Indian women too, and especially if it needs her getting more talent or be able to scout or any capacity of the way. But good to hear that she's like doing okay as opposed to just like being released and kicked out. So
the last news is actually about returning wrestler, and it is Kylie Rae. Kylie Rae is making a wrestling return since announcing her retirement from the industry back in 2020, and she's now making her debut in NWA, and this is a match I'm really excited about. It's for NWA's next pay-per-view, When Our Shadows Fall, very poetic name, but the match is Kylie Rae and the former Impact Knockout Champion and former WWE Diva Taryn Terrell going against Thunder Rosa and the paparazzi queen, Melina. I am so excited about this match.
This is one of those matches that I didn't know I wanted to see, but I know that's happening. I'm definitely want to see it. That's going to be a really good match. I actually had no idea even Kylie returned, so that's awesome. Good for her. I actually thought she was still under contract with Impact, but I guess not. So hey, good for her.
Kylie Rae is a wrestler that everyone loves. She's got amazing indie matches, and we were just waiting to see that kind of blossom in a big promotion. That obviously did not happen with AEW, and same for Impact. She was really building a momentum, but that didn't happen. So hopefully third time's a charm at NWA, and she's with great company like Melina, Taryn, Terrell, Thunder Rosa. So hopefully this is where she can finally blossom and show her greatness to the more of a bigger audience. So when our shadows fall, again, great name.
This is Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan's running NWA, so that makes so much sense and it's all poetic.
It's like a country song name for some reason. This is happening June 6th, 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is happening this weekend, so, tune in for that. I will be for sure. Thank you so much for joining in for this another emergency news recording. Paloma, where can we all find you?
Find me at Paloma Star on Instagram and Twitter. And DS, where can we find you?
You can find me at DS Shin on Instagram and Ring the Bell DS on Twitter. And last time I said follow me for Thirst Pick, and I feel like that's working, so. But also, I just joined GAW TV, the ladies of GAW, the grown-ass women, Mickey James, Victoria, and So Calval. They invited me to be their first guest for their Pride special. I'm very, very thankful about that. But that episode's actually dropped today, so go check it out right now.
Go watch it right now. I'm going to watch it right now after this myself.
Show us some Ring the Bell love there. I'll see you next time, hopefully with better news.
Yeah, hopefully if it's an emergency one, it'll be a good emergency as opposed to people being released. So, yay, 50K subs!
Woo, bye! Like, I can't get out of this. Yes.